Thank you so much for making time for this interview. We really appreciate it, and we're excited to have ICLEI World Secretariat as part of LOCS, and especially you with your experience and expertise. So the first question is just, can you please describe your work and the impact you're trying to make through it?
Yes, sure. Thanks. So I'm Eszter Mogyorosy. I work at the ICLEI World Secretariat, meaning I'm based in Bonn, Germany, and I'm head of innovative finance. Working at the World Secretariat also means that I work globally. So I work equally with Global North and the Global South, helping local and regional governments to access finance, helping them with their project development to build up bankable projects. One of the most important initiatives what I manage is the Transformative Actions Program, the TAP, which is a project pipeline and the project preparation facility at the same time. But I'm also a member of several other global initiatives like the CCFLA, the Cities Climate Finance Leadership Alliance, or the GCOM Finance Technical Working Group.
Thank you. Sounds like a lot of different important areas of work. So from all these areas, what have you, especially most recently, learned about some of the critical barriers and opportunities to accessing climate finance? And if you could speak on a global perspective, and if you've picked up any particular barriers and opportunities for African cities, if you could also reflect on those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the TAP, what I just mentioned, is Transformative Actions Program. Here, the project pipeline, what we have, 2/3 of the pipeline, we have African projects. So I think my experience is very Africa relevant. And when trying to help those projects with their project development and also connecting them with technical and financial experts, what we see is that for barriers, what the major issue is the lack of the enabling environment and the lack of the political support. So usually these local and regional governments, they don't have the autonomy to have direct access to those international finance, what we could offer through our partners. And not having a strong political support from the local level, but from the national government level, it's very difficult to access those financing. And what we see that also the needed institutional and regulatory framework is not in place to access those financing. So the lack of enabling environment and the lack of political support too. And then as a third, I maybe would mention the lack of capacity, meaning both the technical and the fiscal capacity. The fiscal capacity also meaning the lack of the financial autonomy, and the technical capacities that, in most of the cases in these local and regional governments, there are no finance experts, or even if they have, they don't have the time capacity to really work on project development and project proposals. As for opportunities, I strongly encourage the local and regional governments to be less dependent of external experts. And here maybe also I can promote the TAP toolkit, which can be found on the TAP website, where we also try to develop online tools which are available free of charge. So we developed, for example, a finance toolkit last year. It's available for everyone in several languages, in all the languages which you have in Africa, so English, Portuguese, and French. And so these toolkits, it's a kind of self-learning tool as well to enable local and regional governments to be able to develop their project proposal or improve that. Then what I see as an opportunity is the stakeholder engagement, which has to happen at local level, and is very important. Although many times we see from the project applications that this part is not as strong as it should be, although I see it as a key, because what we experience is that these infrastructure projects, what we work with, they are really long-term projects. So in most of the cases, there is at least one more election cycle in between. And then it can really risk the continuation of the project, the changing of the regime at the local or the regional governmental level. But with a strong stakeholder engagement and involvement, this risk can be a bit minimized, and to ensure that the project continues also when there is a change in the local government. And then as a third thing, I would really encourage the local and regional governments to think about how to bundle projects, how to group projects, how to team up with others, because what we see is that the investors, the financial institutions, they always favorize the large-scale projects. And what we receive in our pipeline many times are really very, very small-scale projects with a very small climate impact they can make. So those projects which then team up with other local governments or the more sectors they can have and include, they have the better chances to access finance.
Thank you. That's a really comprehensive list of opportunities and barriers. How do you see these barriers and opportunities being impacted by COVID and the response to COVID?
I try to look at COVID as an opportunity. I really think it changed a lot our thinking, and hopefully also in a positive way. I think that COVID clearly highlighted the importance of the subnational level, that action happens at the subnational level, and also highlighted the importance of resilience. Now also here with the TAP, we tried to now enlarge a bit our definition of resilience, not only thinking about the climate resilience, but much broader. And what I think COVID also highlighted is the importance of the risk assessment in the project design, which at the moment, looking at our projects, we manage, it's not that well elaborated, but now it clearly highlighted the importance of that part as well.
Thank you. Yes, I also see that there's an opportunity now, while addressing some of the kind of immediate impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, that we are seeing more of a focus in terms of the longer term response. And so these areas that you've raised definitely feed into that longer term response and how to make it a green COVID recovery. So how can improved multi-level governance be an enabler to actually enhance access to finance for subnational governments? You have touched on this a bit, but maybe we could go into that because you noted it as one of the barriers as part of the enabling environment. So maybe if we could speak to how we could improve multi-level governance to increase access for subnational governments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really find it critical. So multi-level governance is critical to access finance, but not only for the local level. I think that also the national level can benefit a lot from that. So having the strong support of the local level, building in the local needs also in the national level strategy, it also gives them a much stronger mandate. So I think, yeah, both levels can benefit from that collaboration. And indeed, maybe at the moment, the subnational level is even more dependent on the national level, being the national level is the one who can access or can help to access the local governments to the international finance. So I think that NDCs are a gift opportunities, so the national determined contribution, and building in the vertical integration. This is really the way we have to go. And I see it's more and more recognized. So national governments more and more understand that if they really want to reach the global goals defined, by the Paris Agreement, by the SDGs, they really need to collaborate with the local level where the action happens. So I really find it critical, and I cannot even imagine how else this could work. But I see a positive tendency in this regard, as I said.
Great. Yes, it's always great to track the positive trends in this area. So what financial mechanisms do you see as supporting increased gender equality through climate action, or how could climate finance actually realize kind of the dual goals of increased gender equality and climate action?
I'm not sure if there is one specific financial mechanism that could support that. I think it doesn't matter what kind of financial mechanism you use. Gender equality and to have a positive impact on the improvement on gender equality is just important. Doesn't matter if it's a loan, if it's a grant, if it's some more innovative financing solutions like bond or crowdfunding or revolving fund. Gender is equally important. I cannot really relate it to any specific financing mechanism, but what we see from our project proposals we have in our pipeline, this is a very, very weak point. Somehow it's very, very rarely well explained by the applicants how the project will have a positive impact on gender. Although what we see that in all international financial institutions, applications, they really look for this criteria. They really screen this, how well it is built in, which, according to my opinion, can be built in two ways, either to strengthen gender in the project management itself, and then of course the second is the impact of the project, which then shall have a positive impact on gender. So for me, in an ideal application, both are built in, but of course each financial institution, they have different criteria how they screen the gender impact in the project design. This is something I think we have to do many more capacity building on this topic, understand this better. But maybe also in this regard, this COVID-19 pandemic has a positive impact, because now this whole pandemic made financial institutions and also us in our program to revise all the eligibility criteria and what is really important in project design. And being part of several discussions, I see that gender is very much there. So I think we all have to learn and understand better how to build that in, and yes, maybe even how to link it to a specific financial mechanism.
Thank you. And what specific actions would you say cities could take, maybe a few actions in the short term and maybe a few longer term actions that cities must take to kind of overcome these barriers that you've identified and the opportunities that we've already discussed?
Yeah, I really would encourage everyone to check out these online tools and webinars, which can be overwhelming, but still there are a lot of material available. But I certainly would encourage local governments to do and strengthen their project proposals where I see the weaknesses at the moment, and which is also an opportunity for them to quantify better the climate impact they want to achieve with their projects. This is in most of the cases not so well explained. Of course, I also understand that for that you also need studies. And this is something where I know that local governments really depend on external expertise and also the capacity, and those studies are missing in many cases. But here we also try to help with templates, but I see this is very important that those impacts are quantified, because investors always ask for those numbers. They love numbers. They want to see the climate impact quantified. They want to see the revenue generation or saving potential of a project quantified. So whatever can be quantified should be quantified. I certainly encourage everyone to strengthen that part of project design and to build it in the thinking as a priority. And also what I see important direction is to think holistically, to think how a project can serve several more sectors than just one. So what we see is that a multi-sectoral approach is always much more preferred by investors and financial institutions. So for example, a waste to energy project or a forestry energy. So when you can connect more sectors, the proposal is always stronger. And as I already mentioned when we were talking about opportunities, to think about how to bundle, how to team up with others to make the project even stronger, to show its robust impact and also its scalability.
Thank you. And then thinking on the other side of, if we think of cities as, or subnational governments as almost beneficiaries to some extent of funds in the long-term goal that we have, in terms of the providers of funds or the facilitators of the flow of those funds, what actions would you suggest national, multilateral development banks, national development banks, other private sector investors? What actions should they take to support the flow of financing to subnational governments?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I clearly see the need for a system change, and hopefully, slowly we are getting there. The subnational level, the importance of subnational level is more and more recognized, but it still has to be much more recognized. Both by these international financial institutions, both by the national level. So I think we are going to the right direction, but still there is a long way to go. Then of course, not only large projects should be prioritized, and not always, the big cities. What we see that the need is really sometimes for the very small local and regional governments, and they basically have very limited chances to access any serious finance. So somehow, it should be recognized that those also have to be supported, and they are just as well important as the big ones. And then, as I already said, that local and regional governments suffer a lot to have the studies which are very important to support their project design and project development. So somehow this phase is still not much financed. Okay, now there will be the new GAP fund launch, which will be a fund managed by the European Investment Bank, GIZ, and the World Bank, which is called a GAP fund because they want to focus on early stage preparation. And I truly hope that this will be the case. Although we have to see, and that's what we understood also in many cases, that early stage can mean different for different actors. So, and also for the GAP fund early stage, it starts where already a climate action plan is ready. Although to get to that stage, to have a proper climate action plan, it's already very much finance required and capacity required to get to that point. So I really think we have to focus more to this early stage project preparation, and hopefully it will be recognized by the private sector, financial institutions, any potential funder that finance is needed, because this part of the project design is just critical. After that, if that part is well done, it's much more guaranteed that the project will be a good quality bankable project.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time today, and I really appreciate your insights.
Thanks a lot.